Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name's Emma and I thought I'd make a quick video today just chatting about the basic tools that I use when I'm collaging. I've had lots of people ask me what tools I use and what glue I use. So I thought it might be a great idea just to show you guys what I use. It doesn't mean that they'll be the right thing for you, but it's what I use and I'll show you how I go about using each one. Okay, get this out of the way. So the first tool I use is cutting mats. I've got two self-healing cutting mats. This one here is the big one, and this is what I do on most of my cutting. It's not massive, it's just like a medium size, but it's good enough for me. I don't want to be carrying around something really massive, and I don't do, the biggest I do would be like a book, a page out of a book. So it's a perfect size for me to chop up on. And the self-healing mats are really good because they don't leave the big chops out of them. So you don't get a bumpy mat when you're trying to work. And then the other one I use is this smaller self-healing mat, which has had a bit of a hard life. But you can see it looks really bad, but when you're touching it, it's still quite smooth. But the reason I use this one is it's a lot thinner than the other one, and it's a perfect size for example, if I wanted to cut something out one of these pages. So if I can actually put this inside the book, I can get my Stanley knife and I can cut around what I would need to cut around like this with the mat underneath. And because it's not too thick and it's a perfect size for a book, it won't ruin your book, so it won't ruin any of paper. So I actually find that really handy and I use that a lot. The second tool that we need is our cutting tools. So I use two cutting tools. I use my scissors, just boring old scissors, but they are a bit smaller than normal scissors. They actually work perfectly for getting into the small nooks and crannies. If they're too small, I can't get in there with my scissors. That's when I use my X-Acto knife. So this is my X-Acto knife here. So basically, it's just a little scalpel basically with blades that you can change. With this one, this is quite an old one. I've actually had this for over 20 years, but it's really simple to change the blade. You just basically pull this here. It opens up all the bits here. You take this out and then you just replace it from a blade in there. The new ones that are out, I'm pretty sure that you will spin the top here, not down the bottom, and change the blade. But that's really good, and these work for the finer, delicate bits that you can't get to. Also, they're great for if you want to do cut out of an actual colouring page. For example, if I wanted to cut out some of these feathers here from the colouring page, I could just get in here and cut it out with the knife. Because you can't get in there with scissors because you don't want to chop it all up. So you just use a little knife to cut out. It's the best way I find to use it is to try and use it all in one line. So if I want to cut from here to here, I'd go completely in one line. I wouldn't do like little sharp lines, just do one big full line and then another big full line, making sure that they meet at the ends, because otherwise when you pop them out, you'll have like little rips. So you need to make sure that it meets at the end. And my best tip I can give you about these is you really do, well, I find I need to push really hard. If I don't push hard, it doesn't go through the paper enough, and then I have to recut. And it ends up getting double lines. So that's both my cutting tools. So super easy. You've probably got scissors, and you might even have one of these hanging around the house. And then we've got a metal ruler, which I use quite a lot. I use this ruler. I find the metal works better because when you're going down with your X-Acto knife and you're using a plastic ruler, sometimes it takes chunks out of the plastic ruler. I do also have a see-through plastic ruler that I use sometimes because it does work. Sometimes you need to see what's underneath what you're cutting, but I find that I usually will end up taking chunks out of it, so it's not good by the end of like 2 weeks. But this one's good. It's got this groove in here, which is perfect when you're pushing down. You can push really hard, you get your fingers in there and draw the line, and you know your ruler's not going to slip around like sometimes when you can't when you have your flat rulers, you hold them down and they're slipping around. This one is so good with the well in there, so you can just fit your fingers in there and do a nice straight cut. You're not worried about it slipping backwards and forwards. And then the most important things, obviously, is your glue or your adhesive. So I don't use any other adhesive except glue sticks. I've tried other things. I know some other collage artists do use some paste glues, but I find because I work a lot with magazines, especially older magazines, putting the paste glue on the back of that paper, two things happen that aren't great. Firstly, when you lay your paper down, it will be really bumpy. You don't get that flat surface. Secondly, sometimes if that paper, because it's so old, gets too much moisture on it, it will easily rip. And then also, I have found that sometimes the colour bleeds out of the ink bleeds out of the pages, which you probably don't want happening, and that's really, really frustrating. So I use glue sticks, plain old glue sticks. These are the three brands I use, not because they're any better than the others. I haven't tested all the glue sticks. These are just ones that I find that are good. So they're Yoo-Hoo, the Elmer's, and the Bostik. And I have three sizes. So I have the middle size, I have the large size, and then also the little size. I actually bought a 12 pack of these little size ones, and they go really fast because this is the one that I use mostly because I'm always trying to glue little pieces up and down. Sometimes I'll have a little piece where I place it in and then pull it up and then I have to glue it in like that. So this comes in really handy, but these also are really handy too for the big areas. I also use sticky tape. So what I use sticky tape is for the back of my pages, so not for the front, but what I do, for example, with this page here, if you can see just here, the fish goes behind her hair and here, so that means it's going to pop out the back of this page. So what I do, because I've cut the lines here, I will just grab some sticky tape. I don't know if you can see it. You can probably see if I go like this. I just grab some sticky tape and I sticky tape these little bits down. It just holds them in place, stops them from flopping around, and sometimes it's just easier than getting your glue out and doing it. I just chuck some sticky tape on there and it's stuck and it's not going to be flopping, and it might not accidentally rip it out. And then the last one thing I use are my little tweezers. So I use this because I'll show you on this book again. When I'm doing my collages, there's lots of different layers. So it's kind of like a bit of a jigsaw puzzle the way I do it, because sometimes I'll have to get something under her hair, but then in front of something else, and then this ear maybe might be behind something else. So lots of the time I will use these just to lift up the little bit here and just push that in. Also just lift up this, and also sometimes I will put a tiny little bit of glue on here to get behind and just put that little bit of glue in there. Just make sure you wash your tweezers really well after you do that. But I do quite a bit of that because sometimes it's just really difficult to get to these little spaces, like his little finger there. I probably would have put a little bit of glue on this, rubbed it in there if I couldn't get it off. So these come in super handy as well. So that's it. That's everything you need to start your journey in collaging. So I hope you give it a go. It's a really good artistic outlet. I love it. I love cutting up and gluing. I also really love the hunt for the pictures and the pages that you're going to cut up and put into your books. I do have a video on where I get my images from, where I source them, all the types of books and magazines that I use. So if you want to have a look at that, I'll link it in the description. And I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are getting into collaging and you've never been doing it before, let me know and let me know how you're going, because I'd love to see what you've been doing. Okay, bye.